In this lesson, I want to mention an important caveat within the React ecosystem. This, of course, is a library that evolves pretty quickly and has had many changes over time, and I want you to be aware of some of the things you might see in other people's code, other people's React code when you look at it. There's going to be many different code bases around the world, and they're all going to be running different versions of React, as well as different versions of the Babel transpiler, Create React App, etc. So one very common thing that you're going to see in React files, especially in older projects, is this. At the very top of the file, you're going to see import React from React. Okay? Now, previously, this was required in any file that utilized JSX. So you'll notice there's nowhere down below where we're actually using the React object that we are importing from the React library. And this was true in React code bases, let's say from 3 years ago. You would import React at the very top, but that actual usage of React with a capital R, that object, was never actually being used. And that was simply a requirement for the transpiler to understand that React was needed behind the scenes to understand the JSX content that was present somewhere in the file below. All right. So since that time, the transpilers have gotten better, the React versions have been made more up to date, and as of React version 17, we are not actually required to import React at the very top of the file as a library dependency because the transpiler understands inherently that we're using JSX and it automatically imports React behind the scenes. And that, of course, is kind of convenient because in a React project, you're going to have a lot of files with JSX, and now you can have one less line of code in every single one of those files, this one on line number 1. So if you ever run into a React project where you see import React from React, but you don't actually see that object being used, that's because it's probably an older version of React and it needs to have that syntax to support the JSX happening in that file. Okay. Keep in mind, there are also situations where you do want to import React like so, because you're going to be using other properties on the React object that are available. We're going to talk more about what those things are later in the course. So that doesn't mean that in the modern world, you never import React from React. It just means that you don't need to import it just for the sake of having JSX below. Okay. Now, if you still see this line in a modern project that supports the new syntax where you don't need to import it, it's not like the worst thing in the world either, because it doesn't actually require more memory. It doesn't increase bundle size or anything like that. The transpiler still includes React automatically. It's just done so implicitly instead of us having to explicitly import it in any file where we use JSX. So because the syntax of excluding it is a little bit lighter, I'm going to go ahead and remove this line, even though it's not like a top priority on your team if you discover that you're still using it, right? It's not like by any means something that you should worry about. It's not a concern. It's just something worth knowing in case you see it throughout other people's React code. That's all there is to cover in this lesson, so I will see you in the next one.